fucking back, baby. We're back, dude. Let's go. Welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy podcast on the planet. And we're back after week one. My name is Noah Selby.
I'm Wes Selby.
And we are back and better than ever. We're back. We've experienced a weekend of football. It's been a fun time. We're going to break down everything that you guys need to know about week one going into week two today on the podcast on Fourth and Troll Fantasy. It's going to be a blast. Before we do all that, check out everything down below. We're always doing a ton of fun stuff on social media, in our community Discord. So many memes flying off the walls this weekend as things were happening. It was a fun time. We always got a fun stuff going up on our socials as well, so make sure you're following there as well. Everything is linked down below in the description. You'll be able to find it all there. We got a great time. Classics coming back. Fluke for real. Waiver Wire ad. We're going to take a little victory lap because it's after week one. And when is not a better time than to victory lap all of the hard work and stats and research we put in the off season. So we're back and we're going to give you a Thursday night football preview. Bills at Dolphins. Stick around for that at the end. We're going to drop some fire information for you there and that as well. Before we do all that, Wes, some news to talk about, obviously, as we are through week one. So hit it.
Oh, yeah.
And let's go.
Let's jump back to Friday night in Brazil. Jordan Love, with about 5 seconds left, went down. Malik Willis took over. They confirmed Jordan Love only, still terrible, but only suffered an MCL sprain and is expected to miss about 3 to 6 weeks. He's considered week to week based on Matt LaFleur and is not on the IR, but they have confirmed they're not pursuing any other quarterbacks to replace Love. Should he miss time, he will. So it'll be good old Malik Willis for the starter until Jordan Love is back. And that will certainly change our outlook on one player in our Fluke for real, I might add. Okay. Next up, maybe you heard before the Cowboys and Browns game, Dak Prescott inked a 4-year deal. He's going to stay there, worth $240 million, highest paid. There it is. Done deal. The trio is back. Puka Nacua, you might, if you're watching on YouTube, notice Noah's shirt. He is representing one of the fallen soldiers from week one. Puka Nacua is going to be placed on IR from his Sunday night football injury with a sprained PCL. So at least 4 weeks without Puka Nacua. Tragic times. Okay. Weird, scary, confusing, I guess, okay thing in Miami. Tyreek Hill was detained by the police just before the game on Sunday, like driving to Hard Rock Stadium. For now, nothing, no repercussions, nothing yet. We don't know. But keep in mind, Miami is playing this Thursday. So keep a close eye on those that do have Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. Whatever may happen, you're going to start Jalen Waddle regardless. But sticking in Miami, Devon Achane did not practice Monday due to an ankle injury. Seemed okay, played most of the game. Raheem Mostert also did not participate in practice on Monday. So, hey, remember Jeff Wilson Jr.? He was the leading rusher for Miami. Keep his name in mind. Of course, Jalen Wright, the rookie they drafted. But again, Thursday night, Miami is playing. Also, Thursday night, Josh Allen. He had a wrap around his left hand and is expected to have some x-rays. Nothing as of when we were recording this, but he should be fine, should be good to go Thursday. Don't worry too much about the superstar quarterback. Jordan Addison was ruled out with an ankle injury before the game, and then he was like, I'm good, and he started playing, and then he got ruled out during the game due to that ankle injury, and he could miss up to 3 weeks is what we are hearing here on Fourth and Troll. Speaking of missing time due to ankle injuries, David Njoku suffered a high ankle sprain. He's considered week to week right now. Don't know if he's IR, but it is pretty serious. He's going to be out for a lot of time. What is not as serious as it seems was Jake Ferguson's injury. He suffered a bone bruise and an MCL sprain. It looked like the worst of the worst, but he's probably going to be okay. Likely going to miss this upcoming week, but it's still possible according to the Cowboys. We'll see what happens there, especially with how great the tight ends are here in the NFL and fantasy. So we'll see how he turns out. Rome Odunze had an MRI on his knee on Monday. It confirmed he suffered a grade 1 knee sprain. The Bears consider that the best case scenario, but he's likely to miss a few weeks, maybe at least just one. And hey, remember Kadarius Toney, Super Bowl champion? He just signed with the Cleveland Browns. That is it for the news. Now, it's time for a news segment, Victory Lap. Let's get into this, Noah.
Start your engines, because we're taking a victory lap here after week 1 of the fantasy football season. Now, listen, this isn't just to brag, although it is, but it's not. It's not just to brag. We're here to remind you of things we talked about this offseason. We're here to remind you that, hey, we're here, we're riding, we're good here at Fourth Control Fantasy. Hang with us, and we're just gonna give a little advice and move on from there. But it's mostly to brag, so let me brag real quick, because Cooper Kupp is the absolute dude. Wes, you and I were both extremely high on Cooper Kupp coming into this season. Cannot explain how thrilled I was to have him on so many of my teams in the draft season. The draft price was ridiculous. Listen, fallen soldier, Puka Nacua, don't get me wrong. Oh, well, Kupp had 21 targets because Nacua wasn't in the game. Okay, maybe, but he also had 5 targets on the first drive that Nacua played every single snap with him. So Cooper Kupp, we hammered it home. The offense runs through him. Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, bummer week 1, absolutely 10.3 points and 4.8 points. Hope he didn't do that. Devon Achane hammered the bell on this guy. Absolutely this offseason. Wes and I extremely high. Wes even higher than me. And he is absolutely the guy to own in the running back room in Miami after 1 week. So, listen, you're welcome. Hope you listened. And to all of you on TikTok who didn't, that's a bummer. I hope you do next year. Mike Evans.
And one quick thing about Achane. Who got the goal line carry?
Oh, yeah, Devon Achane.
But I thought it was Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I thought he was the goal line.
Yeah. Mike Evans, my wide receiver 8 coming into the season, continues to absolutely be an absolute animal. The worry that Canales had moved on and that the offense wasn't going to be in a great spot, no issues, no concerns there. Mike Evans gets the hands on twice on Sunday. And hey, did you hear about Drake London this weekend? No one did, because he sucked. So there you go. Hope you listen to that one as well. Hope you didn't draft him. Wes, victory lap. Please.
Yes. Wow. Thank you. I love giving you the floor. Let's all just take a moment to hear about how great your predictions are. It's not just the viral videos on social media. Okay. I did not put Amon-Ra St. Brown in my top 10 because I said that he was going to have a down year. It's historical. This is what is going to happen to year 4 wide receivers. And look what happened. First game back, not even just had a bad game, but was like 3rd. And depending on your outlook on Jahmyr Gibbs, even 4th in the targets based on how you really want to view this. But this is what I was saying. And I said it could be because the JMO season's alive and well. Wasn't sure. Noah and I drafted him in the league. And oh my, did Jameson Williams do very well. So what's the plan? You hold on to Amon-Ra. Of course, he's going to get involved at some point. But if you listen during the offseason, maybe you drafted him, maybe you didn't, but you will understand that there is some truth to this data behind year 4 wide receivers. Next one, I put Alvin Kamara in my top 10. I said this guy's going to be fine, going to be just a good pick, good solid pick. I'll be honest, I did not expect him to be, top 5 on the week. Maybe the Panthers are just awful. But the point is that he's still great. He's still playing like one of the guys that has been a strong running back in the NFL. And we'll see where this goes from here. But let's move on to these studs and duds on my end as well. Said Rico Dowdle was a dud. Dud is an understatement. Turns out when you get 8 carries and that's it, you're not doing all that hot. And also 4.2 points does not speak RB1 volume for the Cowboys, so I'd stay away, at least for now. Also, Kylie Granson said he was a dud. We're going to wait to see how he actually evolves into that tight end room for Colts. 1 target, that was it. And we'll save a little bit of this for later, but I've been pretty down on Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase for the whole season. Said neither are going to be top 10. Let's overreact to week 1. We'll get more into their stats in our Fluke or For Real segment. But hey, listen, we have a lot of takes here on Fourth and Troll. We do get a lot right. You may have come across us on social media from some of the bizarre, outlandish takes, and you comment and then it doesn't happen right away. If you saw Xavier Worthy and we said it was a risk and it paid off and you want to come chew us out, fine. We have a lot that we do right. We have a lot of research. We want to help you. We want you to enjoy your season through us. So thank you for enjoying this victory lap segment with us. We're going to move on to my personal favorite segment, Noah. Yours is Studs and Duds. I love Fluke For Real so very much.
Listen, we're going to jump into it right here. Some of the guys, before we do this, Fluke For Real, We're breaking down performances. We're going, all right, is this gonna stick? Is this gonna be the norm? Is this gonna be what it is? Because here's the thing. I'm gonna read off some stat lines from 2023 week 1.
Okay.
Just for a reminder to everybody. Mac Jones scored 25.1 fantasy points. We were, there's a lot of conversation about that. And then we saw how that happened. He was not playing and was dethroned by Bailey Zappi later in the year. So, maybe those guys who had great games now might not stick. That's definitely a possibility. Just as well, players who played terribly can turn it right back around. Dak Prescott, week 1, 6.3 points. He finished as a top 3 quarterback in fantasy last year. Josh Allen, the number 1 quarterback in fantasy last year, had 12 fantasy points in week 1. Rashad White, a top 5 fantasy running back last year, had 4.9 fantasy points in week 1 last year. CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 1 last season in 2023, 11.7 fantasy points in his week 1 debut. Trey McBride, breakout tight end for the Arizona Cardinals that everyone is highly drafting this year. His week 1 last year, 4.3 points. All right. No need. Don't overreact. Don't overreact. It's all good. It's week 1. It's just week 1. Everything's going to be all right. All that said, let's overreact to week 1 because this is exactly what we're here to do, and that's what you guys are here to see. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Fluke for real. Here we go. Let's start it out with the top scoring quarterback in fantasy football to start out the season. Baker Mayfield, 37.6 fantasy points. Now, Wes, I'm of the opinion here that this is listen, I've been a long time Baker hater. Self-proclaimed.
Sure.
I like Mike Evans. I like Chris Godwin. I like Rashad White. I like the weapons, the pieces in the offense. I think they could be fine. I also think there's a real chance that this is just, hey, you know what you should do when your skill players are playing the Commanders? Put them in your lineup. I think there's a better chance that that's what this is. And I don't know if I'm alone in that, but what do we think on Baker Mayfield here, Fluke for real?
I don't see him as top 10. You did not put him in your top 10 either, but no. I think all of that is correct, but also he's great pass catchers all around him. So this kind of game is not, it won't surprise me if this happens again. So for all intents and purposes, I say for real, like I see Baker as a top 15, could even be top 12, but will this happen week to week? No.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll continue talking about Baker Mayfield in streaming quarterback conversations all season. Like he will definitely be one of the top streamers at the quarterback position. So there you go with that. Another quarterback, Derek Carr, 27.3 fantasy points. I don't want to waste any time on this guy. Fluke. It was the Panthers, guys. It's the Panthers. They play. I don't remember who they play this week, but they are going to be a complete shell of whatever happened this weekend. So I think that's all the quarterbacks we're going to talk about because those really aren't the good quarterback performances. That was
the good quarterback. It was surprisingly good.
Like, we all know Josh Allen's like that's what he does. He's that guy. So Jaden Reed is a guy I want to talk about real quick. West 33.1 fantasy points, gets in the end zone twice in multiple different ways. They manufacture touches for this guy. He seems like he's for real. However, with Malik Willis, I don't know if I want to start like any Packers skill players at this point.
Yeah. So I feel like this, I think he is for real. He was the highest scoring fantasy wide receiver last year for the Packers. There was a lot of question as to who was going to be the wide receiver 1. There were talks that it was Jaden Reed. The OC mentioned Jaden Reed's going to be the guy they want the ball in the hands of the most. But then we saw a lot of Christian Watson and we saw a lot of Romeo Doubs, and fantasy community wanted to hype up Dontavion Wicks. So here's what I say. I say this is for real, and let Jaden Reed play awful with Malik Willis so that you can actually afford him in a trade.
Yeah. If I'm taking a shot on any of the Packers skill players, it is Jaden Reed because he does have that like Deebo Samuel-esque kind of role where he gets manufactured touches for him. Big play, he's a 33-yard run. You obviously manufacture that to get the ball into his hands for a touchdown. So if he's going to be the one guy, I'm not taking a shot here on Watson scored a touchdown or Dobbs had a lot of targets or whatever it is. Like I don't really trust it beyond Jaden Reed. So there you go. Man, Joe Mixon. I I'll eat a slice of what is it? Is it humble pie?
Humble pie. Yep.
I'll eat a slice of humble pie here.
You don't have that much, do you? You don't even know what it's
I
called.
don't, dude. I
Unfamiliar.
didn't love Joe Mixon coming into the year, but he is clearly just an absolute bell cow and a great pick in dynasty in fantasy if you drafted him, because I mean 30 carries, this guy, absolute just bell cow work. He played like, I think it was over 80% of the snaps. Like, I mean, this guy is just somebody they want heavily involved. I think this is for real. I think we'll see multiple 25 plus point games from Mixon this season. And man, I think it's definitely for real for him.
Yeah, I won't go as far as say that he is for sure top 10. I did a little bit of research. On average, the running back that has the most carries in week 1 finishes as RB10. And Joe Mixon's been a top 10 running back for several years, so it's entirely possible. But this is a different receiver room, so I won't go that far to say, oh, he is the guy. Go trade the farm to get Mixon. This is going to be the best running back on your team. But yes, top 15 Mixon for sure.
Sweet. Love it. Let's talk about another running back here, J.K. Dobbins, guy that was going really late in fantasy drafts. And listen, he balled out. He balled out for fantasy. If you ended up having him in your lineup for some reason, congratulations, 23 fantasy points, 10 carries for 135 yards and a touchdown. He also had 3 targets. He caught all of them for 4 receiving yards. Here's where I'm at with this Chargers backfield, is that it was a split, truly. It wasn't like one of Dobbins or Gus Edwards took over for the other. I'll be honest, J.K. Dobbins had like 4 rushing yards in the first half, and then he broke off like 2 long runs in the second half that ended up really giving him a good fantasy day. But so I think they're both going to have their weeks, but I think this kind of upside is definitely around for J.K. Dobbins going forward. It just kind of I don't love the usage just because it is truly a split.
Yeah, I think I'd actually rather have Gus Edwards because of the touchdowns he produced with the Ravens last year, and J.K. Dobbins is incredibly injury prone. This is a great time to sell J.K. Dobbins high, a great time to go buy low on Gus Edwards because it is still split. So I'll say this is a fluke.
Okay, that's fair. Let's talk about another guy here, Ramondre Stevenson, in the same conversation here as Joe Mixon, as just absolute bell cow for this team. 25 carries, 120 yards. He had all of the running back targets for anyone who was worried about the Antonio Gibson emergence in that offense with him and being able to him losing receiving work. 3 catches for 6 yards. It's the Patriots. What are you expecting? What, 3 for 90? Get your head out of
Got him.
you know? But just shot us straight at anybody.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
It was like Ramondre's got
just
like great receiving
us.
upside, dude. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
The here's where I'm at, really, is that I think he's gonna be good if they're in a positive game script for the run. But like, I don't know how many more times they're gonna be trying to kill clock this season. I think is where I'm at. Like it's I have a hard time seeing it happen.
It's also like, who else is all that great on the Patriots offense that we know of right now? So I think sure, I can see him being a solid RB2, but I guess I'll say fluke.
Yeah, I think it's a fluke as well. I got 1, maybe 2 more running backs to talk about here before we jump over to a couple wide receivers and then the bad side of things.
Okay.
Here's where I just want to have a very brief conversation, Wes.
Okay.
The OC in Tennessee told us all offseason that this was going to be a split. This is going to be a 1A, 1B. No shot. This is not a split. This is not a split backfield. Tony Pollard is a starting running back, and it's super annoying that we heard all offseason. Like, loop this guy in with Mike McCarthy in the club of just D-bags who lie to us as coaches. Because it's like, maybe game script, maybe I don't know. Like, Tony Pollard had like 16 carries to Tajay's 4. They were like very similar in the receiving game. I think this is potentially for real for Tony Pollard, and I hope it becomes for real for Tajay Spears as well. But like, it very much feels like this is not a split backfield.
Yeah, I say hold on to Tajay Spears though, because the first two games
Absolutely.
for Tony Pollard last year were great. And then he was arguably one of the biggest busts last season. So don't give up on Pollard, or don't give up on Spears just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump through just a quick couple running wide receivers here. Alec Pierce, 21.5 fantasy points. Fluke for real, Wes?
You know, I'm gonna say that's for real. And
Stop
and,
it.
and the only reason I'm gonna say it's for real is because when you look at the yards per catch for the other wide receivers, it's really mediocre. And Richardson, the whole hype behind him and his pro day was that arm. He can throw a million yards. And this is what I was reading in camp. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this is for real. Do you think you should start him? Probably not. But I expect to see a few more games like this from Alec Pierce. I'll say for real.
Okay, let's hope one of Richardson's 9 completed passes next week is another bomb touchdown to Alec Pierce. I mean, I don't know about that, but okay, another guy who just had a bomb touchdown, Rashid Shaheed. I don't trust the Saints, but I know this is Shaheed's game. He gets a bomb touchdown here and there, and that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I say. Do we have Chris Olave later on? Because we'll talk about him, because I think that's a comment more about Olave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, we can talk about it in the bad section here. Last one I want to talk about, just because I think it's a point of emphasis here. Alexander Mattison. Add Antonio Pierce to that group chat of D-bag coaches who lie to us. Because I mean, I get it. Xavier started, and it's like they wanted him to be the guy, it seems like. But he played like 38% of snaps. It was like, dude, like this guy feels not involved at all. And our man who broke our heart last season, who just pissed us off beyond belief, Alexander Mattison, was involved. He seems like the receiving back. And I'm concerned that the Raiders are not going to be like the Patriots in a lot of scenarios where they're just running the clock out. So I don't know what to do with this backfield.
I think I'm jumping ship on Zamir White. I'll give it one more week, but I'm gonna call Fluke on Mattison, because I just don't know if that wasn't game script. You know, like Devontae Adams didn't do a lot either. We're gonna talk about him in a moment. Yeah. So I think this is just one of those games. Mattison did well. Zamir White did not do well, but I'm not buying in on Zamir White anymore, I don't think. So I'll call it fluke and bad for the Raiders offense all around, except Brock Bowers. Yeah. Hooray.
Before I jump to bad, a couple of rookie wide receivers I just want to make one note on. A couple of guys that I was happy to see get in the end zone. Loud McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. Good things to come for those guys with how involved they were in their offenses in week 1. So good things to come there. Let's jump over to the bad, because there's a bit of it here. Starting with the Bengals. Joe Burrow, time. 8 points. Jamar Chase, 12.2 points. Dude, what the hell is going on in Cincinnati? Like, this is just like I've heard like a lot of people saying it. It's just like, dude, this is just like bad vibes all around coming out of Cincinnati. Like this, like over the past month. Like, it's just frustrating.
I won't comment, because I don't have either of these guys in my top 10. So I'll leave it up to you and your determination. The only thing I will point out is that Burrow just, I guess, is awful week 1. Dude, I guess that's just what he does. The 3 years in a row.
Suck in week 1. I don't know what it is. I don't understand, but it definitely. I heard somebody. I think I don't remember who it was on Twitter, but I saw someone tweet out saying like it definitely feels like the Bengals miss Joe Mixon. Like it felt like the Patriots defense was like, no one's running the football for you, so we're just preparing for the pass. And Burrow, like the completion percentage wasn't even bad. He's 21 for 29.
Like
it was good, but like 164 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns. Like it was just, dude. I don't want to overreact, but it's like 3 years in a row they suck ass in week 1. Like, I don't understand what it is about the Bengals in week 1, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I'm not sure. I don't know if I have a call on Fluke or apparently, based on history, this is for real for week 1. So be cautious rolling out your Bengals over the next 3 weeks is what was, I guess, what we're saying here. CeeDee Lamb, 13.6 fantasy points. That's not what people want from their potentially 101 player that they drafted. This is the Fluke. The game script for the Cowboys this week was just absolutely terrible. I mean, it was, they came out, they were, Dak was playing great, hit Brandon Cooks on a touchdown that could have been CeeDee, and then they just they got a special teams touchdown. The defense was doing their thing against Cleveland. A lot better days to come for the Cowboys for sure. We mentioned him a little bit, Wes, and it's Davante Adams. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know of a consensus, maybe talent-wise, top 10 wide receiver in the league who tends to come into week 1 and get out-targeted by a rookie tight end. Now, I could be wrong. It could be wrong there, but
yeah.
I just think I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to call this a fluke because we saw this starting out last year, and Adams just one way or another, he's going to walk up to Gardner Minshew this week at practice and like grab him by the throat and be like, "Hey, throw me the ball 20 times." Cool. Like he gets his way. He is in the ear of Antonio Pierce, and I think this is going to be schemed that way. But you know, neither of us had him top 10 wide receiver this year, so this isn't necessarily a surprise.
No, I think this is for real though. I think this is for real. I mean,
for real in what way though? Like he's going to score like this is his ceiling is 11 points.
As far as like being in jeopardy of missing
more
top
often
15,
than not.
I don't think he'll be top 15. That's for real.
I think that's very fair. Yeah, he was my late teens.
Then we're on the same page.
I think he might have been outside my top 20 coming in as far as rankings go, which felt disrespectful. But hey, trust yourself, I guess. Amon-Ra, we kind of talked about it already. This feels fluky because this guy, I don't know how many times this season Jameson Williams will end up out targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown. This feels very fluky. The dude was invisible. For one reason or another, I think they're just gonna have to look at it and go, okay, listen, obviously they won in overtime, but I think they're not gonna just go throughout the season and not get this guy targets. So 6 targets is like a low end for what he ends up usually getting, but it's definitely cause for concern. It's definitely you're more out on him than I am, Wes. Obviously, I think he's definitely going to bounce back here. But what are your thoughts?
I think he will have good games. In the offseason, I said historically, he's not going to be top 10. But I predicted him being a top 10 wide receiver this week, so this is a bit surprising to me as well. But you know my thoughts. We'll get on to these other guys that
absolutely
really helped us out. Oh boy,
Dalton Kincaid, what the hell, dude? I mean, they were down 14. They had to come back to win the game, and he got 2 targets. This is concerning. I'm not my panic meter isn't off the charts, but this is I am a little worried. I'm a little worried
here. You know, we had some comments from one of our episodes in the offseason about will these numbers and history change your mind about fantasy football? And, you know, here's what I decided to look up. We had some comments saying this will be great. Do another one. Well, here's a little bit of some information. I looked up the data for what top 10 tight ends do in week 1. 81% of the top 10 tight ends catch at least 3 footballs week 1. Dalton had 1.
That didn't happen.
No, he had 1 catch.
Yeah.
And that is a concern. Now, can he be part of that 20% that makes top 10? I think so.
Yeah.
But
I think he can too.
I have to say this is a fluke for now, and we get to find out Thursday night right away.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's so weird. Another guy in the same game, Marvin Harrison Jr., rookie wide receiver that we, love. He's
oh my gosh,
highly touted. Yeah, 1.4 points, 1 catch, 4 yards, 3 targets.
Yeah,
Very strange.
Another stat is that wide receivers in the top 15 see 4 or more targets in week 1. He only had 3 targets. That's also concerning. I'm not pulling the plug on Marvin Harrison Jr. just
Not at
yet,
all.
but
no. And
like,
I'll be honest, I'm not like I'm actually not like super worried. It
just
definitely
mad.
was alarming, but I'm more frustrated that it happened. The reality became he ran the most routes on the team, and he had the most snaps of any player on the team not named Kyler Murray. So he's out there. So I think they're going to go back to the drawing board and look at film and go, I mean, I think a lot of you might have seen it already. There's one play where he's wide open for like a 45-yard touchdown, and Kyler's just the Cardinals offense just felt weird. It felt like they went up 14 points and then they just got like conservative. And we're just like, here, it's James Conner's game, which we weren't expecting. I think if they were down chasing points all game, I think they definitely have a different outcome here, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. and the passing game. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens here, but it's definitely a little cause for concern. I'm going to say Fluke for now, just because I don't know exactly if this offense goes up 14 points like that on their opponents. So we'll see. Couple of guys out in the Seattle wide receiver room, Wes, that we both were pretty high on this offseason. I'm going to call flukes here for DK Metcalf, at least. And I hope it's a fluke for JSN. Here's my thing. Tyler Lockett looked great. Tyler Lockett looked like the best wide receiver in that room.
Ageless wonder.
Right. And so I'm like, hey, new OC, where's this whole Washington Huskies, offense that you want to bring over that had 3 proficient wide receivers in it? I'm not worried about DK. I'm a little worried on JSN.
Me too.
He's so talented, but it's like, dude, what's wrong here? And the Broncos secondary is above average, especially Pat Surtain. That's why I'm not worried about DK. He's a newly got the bag Pat Surtain.
Sure.
Shadowing him.
But also Kenneth Walker had an incredible game, and Zach Charbonnet had a touchdown. So there are apparently mouths to feed that may jeopardize JSN. So we'll continue to say that's a fluke.
Definitely. I hope so, for sure. Drake London, already mentioned him. This is for real. This is what we were concerned about. Kirk Cousins looks rough. Doesn't look like he's fully healthy from that Achilles tear. So I don't know. We'll see about that.
Goodness for Kyle Pitts' touchdown. Otherwise, he'd be on this segment too.
He had a great week in terms of week 1 NFL tight ends for fantasy this week.
I think he was like 4th.
And he had like 11 points. Like, it's terrible. Anyway, all right, here we go. Chris Olave, we mentioned it. This team just felt weird, and it was then. And in the defense, I think this is a fluke with Olave. I think he's definitely so much more talented than this. I hate Derek Carr with a passion, but I think he just needs to get him the football more. And Rashid and Derek Carr have this Stafford Cup relationship, it seems, and they're going to Waffle House or whatever. But I think this is a fluke on Olave. I'm not too worried, especially given that they didn't throw the football in the second half. But
I've never been that high on Olave, so I'll just leave that in your hands. I just never thought he was all that great.
That's fair. You were definitely high on this guy, Deontay Johnson, who was in that same game, in a game where they threw the football a ton. I liked the end zone targets. I liked that, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, 6 targets. This surely is Deontay Johnson's worst week. This is surely the worst week for the Panthers this season. You'd like to believe so. Oh, man. I had my roommate. He doesn't watch football. I live in California. He goes, God, Panthers suck, huh? And I was like, how did you know about that? He goes, oh, everyone's talking about it. I was like, wow, how is it that big of a deal? So Deontay Johnson, it's a fluke. Just give it some time. Don't start him yet. Give it some time.
Yeah. Last couple here to close it out. Amari Cooper, I think this is a fluke. Deshaun Watson sucks. All right. I was wrong. I knew I wasn't wrong. I knew he sucked. I said the only thing that looked good last year on the Browns was Amari Cooper. And I love the 9 targets.
Yes.
And he dropped a touchdown. And so this is a much different week that we're talking about. He's probably in the good section if he catches that ball. So he had like a 40-yard touchdown that he dropped. We're looking at like a mid-teens output from him there. So this is fluke for Amari Cooper.
Can't wait for Jameis Winston.
Me too, dude. I'm banging the drum now. I'm with you. Bench him. Here's the last one I want to talk about. Christian Kirk. All right. 4 points. Sucked. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun to be a Christian Kirk owner. I really liked him this year. I still really like him. You know why? He had the same amount of targets as Brian Thomas Jr. But Brian Thomas Jr. caught the touchdown. Christian Kirk had 2 drops that would have amounted to about 6 or 7 more fantasy points for him. It's not great, but that's what we know about Christian Kirk, is that it's like he can be like a 12-point to 15-point contributor with that upside if he scores a touchdown. I'm not giving up on Christian Kirk yet. I think this is a fluke. I watched the full game because I was watching the Dolphins game. I saw every target. He had 2 really bad drops. So I'm not too concerned, and I think he's definitely going to still be able to be a guy who is involved in the offense for sure. And that's it, dude. Fluke for real.
That's it.
Bum, ba, bum, bum. We are
Here we
farmers. Is that what I just did? I don't know. I just did a
Yeah.
jingle.
Oh,
So the first jingle
not sponsored.
That's it for week 1, almost. We're going to talk about waiver wire real quick. The top targets you need to be targeting in the waiver wire going into week 2. We got 5 guys to talk about. I want to throw out 2 honorable mentions because I just think it might be worth thinking about. Think about Alexander Madison. I guarantee you he's out there. He's definitely an option. He could be there.
Sure.
If you think the Raiders suck and they have to throw the ball a lot. We don't know if it's fully game script, but I think that's an option for you as well. Another guy, Colby Parkinson, tight end for the Rams. I believe he should be rostered, especially if you lost Jake Ferguson like I did. No one take him from me, please. I'm probably going to have to overpay my fab. But he's a guy who is definitely going to be involved. He had 5 targets in this game on Sunday night. And they lost Puka. So he's definitely going to be a guy that's involved. They paid him this offseason. He's 6'7". Why would Stafford not want to throw it to him? And he moves really well. So honorable mentions right there. But obviously, I think the first one we're definitely going to talk about that we all know about is Isaiah Likely. If he's out there and available, drop some fab on him. Drop your top waiver priority for him. He needs to be rostered going forward. He is going to be the wide receiver 1 for this team, in my opinion, where we're landing on this. I've gotten a little more calm, cool, and collected since the immediate gut reaction Thursday night after the season opener. And listen, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are going to coexist in this offense. They are going to be good. They're going to be great. Mark Andrews was double teamed, literally the most he has been in the last 3 seasons in this game. Nathan Janke, PFF, thank you for that information. This is going to be, they're both going to eat. They're both going to do well. They're both going to be involved. These are both going to be great guys. And I think they both need to be, obviously Andrews is rostered. Likely top priority has to be that guy there. Another guy we talked about, J.K. Dobbins. I think he is worth, even though it's a split, he definitely, if he's out there, he needs to be on a roster. He could, listen, Gus Edwards hasn't managed to really stay healthy a whole lot. Neither is J.K. Dobbins. So if J.K. Dobbins stays healthy and Gus Edwards doesn't, he pretty much locks that whole role up to himself. This is a team that loves to run the football. Obviously, as we know, we heard about it all offseason. So J.K. Dobbins is another guy. You need to get him out there or off that waiver wire if he's out there. He needs to be on your team as well. Last guy I want to talk about, I can't believe I am saying this dude's name, Tank Bigsby. I thought he was left for dead, dude. I thought he was left for dead. And because I watched the Dolphins game, I saw firsthand every carry he had. And he was a better runner than Travis Etienne, which isn't a surprise. We knew, we both were out on Etienne.
We don't have him top 10.
We don't have him top 10. Not a surprise to hear that he was running really well. He needs to be rostered. It was a dead split on the backfield. 12 carries. It was a close game all game. It wasn't like it was garbage time. They were killing clock or anything like that. Bigsby, the one, you know who doesn't belong in the D-bag coaches group chat? Doug Peterson. He told the truth all offseason. He said,
yes, that's true.
Tank Bigsby is going to play a role in this offense. And we were like, okay, dude, Bigsby sucked. So you're just saving face because you drafted him. Nope. He is involved. Truthfully, it is a split backfield in Jacksonville now. Tank Bigsby, I'm very close to almost saying, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But Tank Bigsby, I'm very close to saying he almost needs to be the top waiver priority this week because truthfully, he has a real role in this offense. I'm not going to say it though because obviously Isaiah Likely's here. So there you go.
Right.
Those are 3 guys for me. Wes, 2 guys for you.
I just want to make one quick comment for Isaiah Likely for those that if he's not available, is he worth trading for? Yes. You know why? Because over the last 10 years, the tight end that saw the most catches finished on average tight end 5 on the season. Okay. Fluke, for real, get Likely on your team if you can. Okay. Tank Bigsby was going to be my waiver wire, but I'm going to do some wide receivers. You're looking for some wide receivers? I'm going to be the guy that thinks this Alec Pierce thing was not just a fluke. I'm going to say Alec Pierce is the guy you should go get. I mean, if Richardson's going to air it out, Pierce seems to be the guy he's going to throw the football very far to. And the targets weren't exactly split. You know, it's like Michael Pittman saw 8 targets, but at the same time, Alec Pierce was 3 for 3 on his catches and his targets. So Adonai Mitchell, intermediate targets, but 1 catch. Pierce, he's a guy. If you want a wide receiver, you want to go for him. I think it's a decent option. Keep him on your bench. And I don't want any injuries to happen, but, you know, I think he'd step into a very clear wide receiver 2 behind Michael Pittman. And then my other waiver wire is another wide receiver. I'm going to say Greg Dortch. I mean, hello, he's the guy. Yeah. He's the best wide receiver for the Cardinals, dude. Okay, 6 catches, 8 targets. But seriously, this is not a fluke as far as him being the wide receiver 2 behind Marvin Harrison as soon as he gets going. Even when Zay Jones is back from his suspension, this guy has been involved in the passing game in the offseason this whole time. In training camp, Kyler Murray's been hyper-targeting Dortch when he's not trying to funnel the football to Marvin Harrison. Didn't seem to funnel to Marvin Harrison very much. That's why 8 targets went to Greg Dortch. So you're looking for a PPR guy. Greg Dortch is the one that I think you should go get as the top wide receiver waiver wire option.
Love it. Yeah, I love those guys. Obviously, some great options there. 2 honorable mentions I brought to at the top as well. That's going to be it for the waiver wire. Make sure you get out there, grab those guys. Going to be absolute game changers. The next Kyron Williams is Tank Bigsby. I don't clip that. Do not put that in the That was insane.
Oh, baby, please clip that.
Let's jump to a quick Thursday night football preview as we are looking forward to the Bills at the Dolphins. It's going to be a fun time. Listen, at least for my guys here, we have talked about a lot of these guys, so I don't have much more to say on them besides a quick comment, but I'm going to share. We're going to go through, as always, our must starts, our risky starts, and our don't starts for Thursday night football. Here we go. Wes, take it off. Take it off. Take your shirt off.
Take it off. So I think my must start this week. I mean, there are so many guys that are obvious for the Dolphins and Bills. So let me the only one that I think anyone may be hesitant about that I think is actually a must start is James Cook. Okay. Must start James Cook, 19 carries. Clearly a solid, trusted player in this offense. And that's what Joe Brady brought once he was named the offensive coordinator when they fired Ken Dorsey last year. They were a rushing team. And there's been some rumors. That's why Stephon Diggs wanted to leave, because they were transitioning to this rush first team. Did anybody watch any of the Bills game? Josh Allen ran a lot as well. So you're going to have this rushing first team. Maybe that's why Dalton Kincaid kind of struggled. Maybe that's why we didn't get as much from Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel, some of these other guys that we thought maybe veteran presence were going to help with the passing game. But truth be told, James Cook is going to be a really good running back at this rate. And I see a top 15 upside, maybe top 12. Who knows just how well he does. But I think this Thursday night, he's definitely someone you have to start. Yeah,
I just want him to score more. I do.
I want him to get in the end zone.
But I want him to score. Not on Thursday, obviously, because he's playing the Dolphins. But, I mean, I don't want anyone to score on the Bills.
Sure. Making me 40-7, you know, and James can get
sure.
7.
That's fine. He can get 7, yeah. 7, 8, because he gets the 6, and he gets touchdown, and then they hand it off over for the 2-point conversion.
Okay, fair. That's solid fantasy stuff.
That's fine. My must-start for Thursday night is Devon Achane. I just want to instill confidence to all the haters out there who are like, it was 1 week. It was 1 week. Did you see the Broncos game? It was 1 week. The Broncos game wasn't 1 week either. So we saw it. We knew it was going to happen. He's taken over. He's the RB1 in this offense now. It's the 1-2 punch with HN and Mostert, not Mostert and HN. So he's definitely the guy. He's a must start for me. Go stick around. Look at our other content on HN. He's seven targets, 7 catches. 7 catches. 76
wide receiver
yards.
2.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. My risky start. My risky start. I'll say it. I think it's a risk, and I don't know where I lean on this, but I can see both sides. The risky start would be Keon Coleman, just because he had the most targets, most receptions, and most yards among all pass catchers. Does that mean he has already established himself as the alpha in Buffalo? No. And I think Shakir can still do very well. He got a touchdown. I think Curtis Samuel might be creative and still end up having some productivity with the team. Kincaid, just because he had a bad game doesn't mean he's not going to be involved. So I see it as a risk, and I don't think it's a great risk. But I understand if someone's going to say, you know what, I don't like any of my guys from what happened in week 1. And, I've got Keon Coleman, and I need a decent flex option. Okay, I see the risk. I hear you. That's my risky start.
It's super fair. It's definitely you may look at what Brian Thomas Jr. did with Jalen Ramsey on him. 3 or 4 catches, a touchdown.
Yeah,
solid day for Brian Thomas Jr. You may think Keon Coleman's going to do that as well. It's definitely a risk. I definitely am there with you as well, Wes. My risky start is Dalton Kincaid. It's just I'm still. I don't think you can afford to not, unless you somehow get likely and you are like, well, I'm going to trust that guy over this guy here. At that rate, I'd say just put them both in your lineup, to be honest. But he should still be the guy. But 2 targets is concerning in a game where they weren't up by 40 all game. And so I'm a little concerned. I definitely think it's a risk there. And while he's a guy that we both love, Wes, I'm willing to give a thought to when I usually look at my tight end that I draft. I go, I'm not switching him out for anybody. I would go, okay. If Likely's out there and I can get him, I would probably play him over Kincaid this week. The 2 targets, the usage is rough, man. So he's my risky start.
I'm actually in that position exactly, just as you said.
Are you really?
Just as you said, yeah. So let me do this here. Can you see that? There's Dalton Kincaid. Look what I've got. Isaiah Likely. Can you see that? There he goes. Isaiah Likely. I'm going to start him over Dalton Kincaid. I understand. Gave some data about Likely being a potential top 5 finish based on how many receptions he had, but I understand the pause. However, I'm going to transition into my don't start, and I don't think you should start Dawson Knox. That is not what this means. That is not what this means. It does not mean Dawson Knox is back.
Yeah.
It does not mean Dawson Knox is the guy. It doesn't mean Dawson Knox is saying, hey, now wait a minute, I got hurt last year. It doesn't mean that I don't deserve to be tight end 1. No, Kincaid, I called Cooper Kupp-esque coming out of the draft last year, and he did pretty darn well in fantasy, and maybe we'll see some more of that again the next few weeks, but it does not mean that Dawson Knox is the guy. Don't try to be sneaky. I know we all got burned from tight ends because very few of us even had Likely, let alone started him. Every other tight end was awful. So let me just remind everybody.
Saints tight ends in the top 6.
That's insane.
So
Foster Moreau, Waiver Wire of the week.
Johnson, whatever, dude.
Jeez. Dawson Knox is not to be started. That is not what this means with Dalton Kincaid. If he does better than Kincaid, stick around for our Friday show. We'll talk about that. But Dawson Knox should not be started.
That's good. That's a good piece of information there. I think a lot of people might think, well, Kincaid is not the guy. Knox must be, right? No, definitely not. It pains me to say it. My don't start is Raheem Mostert. I don't think I can start him. And I'm going to take a line from you, Wes, that you shared in our first season that I think is just, it sums it all up. Raheem Mostert will have his best game of the season on my bench. And until he does that, I won't be able to bring him back into a lineup. It's disappointing. It's sad. We love Mostert. Such a fun dude. I've met him. He's great.
Yeah.
Not for fantasy, dude. He is definitely taking a back seat here, and he looked a little he looked a little banged up. There's specifically one play where it looked like he injured his shoulder, and then that was more when Jeff Wilson Jr. started to come into that game. And so definitely things to monitor, but I don't think I don't think you can go, well, he was great last year. I just need to keep with it. If you've got another option, I would roll it out. I really would. I don't think you should start Raheem Mostert, especially in a prime time spot after a bit of a rough week one. That's it. Thursday night football. You're welcome. You're going to win your leagues now because of your plays on Thursday night. Bingo, bango, bongo. You're welcome. That's it for the episode. Let us know what you think of our waiver wire options, of Fluke for real. Who's the biggest fluke of week one for you, in your opinion? And let us know if you had as bad of a team as Wes and I had, as big of a letdown as Wes and I had. And then in our Creators League, Kyler Murray, like Mark Andrews, Marvin Harrison Jr., like all these guys,
let me pull it up.
Amari Cooper, like all these players who had like, they combined for like 10 points. Like,
we ended up starting Andre Iosivas just because.
Yeah, Andre Yoshivas. It was like, well, I don't know. Like,
is that how you say it, Yoshivas?
That's what I've heard. I believe it's Yoshivas. Yeah, I think he's
good to know. You learned something here on this podcast. Actually,
you're welcome. Study abroad. Listen, we will catch you next time on Friday for a Thursday night football breakdown, and we will give you a week 2 preview. It's going to be a blast. Thank you for hanging out with us. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.
4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.